How you do that, Dale? Ooh, how you do that, Dale? And I ain't mad about it. I am your man's Nic Rattlehead. And behind this camera is my man's with the master plan 100 grand. Only you, me, and God knows how much I love this guy, man. Oh, that is my dude. Y'all don't even know. My man's. What's your name? My name is Matt the Graff, and we would like to collectively welcome you guys to Aftershock Reviews, your place for the best extreme music reviews, man. And I'm telling you, today I am uber excited. I hope you can see it on my face because this is a band that means a good bit to me because they actually are the first band we ever reviewed here on Aftershock Reviews, and now we get a chance to do it again. Ooh, and I am pumped, right? Because today we get a chance to review Sulfuric Disintegration by A Feather and Bone. Now, I was turned on to A Feather and Bone in 2018 when they dropped their album Bestial Hymns of Perversion, right? And in my elation of how good it was and how enthralled I was with it, I went back and even listened to their first album, right? And you can automatically see where this was going. They started out as like a metallic hardcore band with black metal influences, right? And what they did was they kind of wanted to switch foots and go to death metal, right? So then all of a sudden, Alvino Salcido's voice comes through with these guttural classic death metal vocals, right? And Dave Grant's kind of like screeching, grating black metal vocal almost becomes like, I don't want to call it auxiliary, but an accompaniment to Alvino Salcido's voice, right? Because when they really want to bring the black metal influences, when they really want to drive that black metal point home, Dave Grant's vocals comes in. He goes like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And it's great. It's dope, right? But you can still kind of hear bits of the first album in Bestial Hymns of Perversion, right? And then on top of that, while the guitar and tones were becoming a little bit more muddy because Bestial Hymns seems to be a little bit more elemental, right? Even when it comes right down to the album artwork, it seems to be a little bit more muddy. It seems to be a little bit more elemental, and it seems to be, to me, a little bit more malign. It was nasty. And if you have any interest, please go back and listen to at least the song Mockery of the Ascension, because it is still in 2020 one of the best breakdowns I heard. But even then, breakdowns, right? Back to that metallic hardcore influences from the previous album. But here, in this one here, this is a full-blown death metal album. Yes, we still have hints of black metal. Yes, we do have hints of the grindcore. Oh, we're going to get in that too. It's not a game. It's great. It's absolutely wonderful. But here, I think this is the album that they were really aiming for. This was their North Star, so to speak. And with that, I think it is wonderful. It is so awesome. Like, even when we're talking about the intro track, right now, we're talking about Regurgitated Communion. Now, Regurgitated Communion comes in with these sounds. It paints an atmosphere for us, but also you kind of hear like this violin trying to get in tune, but it doesn't really get there, so to speak. It's like a symphony is getting ready to try to play to you, but that symphony is helmed by Satan, and all of the instrumentalists are demons. And it's nasty. It's absolutely gross, because we get into the percussion breakdown, that intro that brings us further into the track, and then it goes, and it doesn't stop, and it's automatically great. Because here's the thing. The percussion is going to be one of the main elements that sticks out like a sore thumb on this album. Why? Because it is so prominent. And I think that's always been like a hallmark for A Feather and Bone. Even when we go back to Bestial Hymns of Perversion, one of the critiques that I heard when it came to Bestial Hymns was it was like blast beats the album, which is not true 100%. Yes, the percussion does have a prominent role, but it is not blast beat the album, because at the end of the day, I think what people get tripped up is there is a lot going on when it comes to A Feather and Bone. There are a lot of notes, whether they're coming from Dave Grant's guitars, whether they're coming from Alvino Salcido's bass, or whether they're coming from Preston Weipert's drums, right? There's a lot of notes here, and there's a lot to sift through. So I think it's kind of like when you go online and you're trying to go to like like some sort of site where you're trying to get a bunch of information, right? But then you look at the site and you see a wall of text and you automatically bounce off because you're like, I don't feel like reading all of that. That's what's going on here. There are a lot of notes. But when you really start to sift through it, especially when it comes to the percussion, and you start to really listen to what he's doing, it's not just blast beats. There are a lot of double bass, and like even the fills within the double bass is really, really cool. So it's not necessarily he's doing the double bass and he's holding down a 4/4 and that's it. He's doing a whole bunch of different things. Preston is fire here, right? There is a lot of different ways he attacks the blast beat. There are a lot of hammer beats, right? Or a lot of like bomb blast beats, which is another thing where, you do your hammer beat thing, but then there's like a 16th note on the kick drum. It's great. He is masterful here. And when we're talking about masterfulness, like this goes back to our symphony, right? Because it feels like, yes, there are virtuosic moments within this album, right? You just have to sift through the mayhem. Because that's what this is. It's like the band is playing this great piece, but like, because of the atmosphere that Mr. Arthur Rizk is helping make. Can we talk about this really quickly? Because he's becoming my MVP of this year. Whether we're talking about Xibalba's Años and Infierno, or we're talking about Black Curse's album, Mr. Arthur Rizk is putting his foot yet again into death metal. And man, you can kind of hear that Arthur Rizk kind of tone, because to me, I think a lot of producers and mixers and things of nature, they have their own specific flair that when you hear an album or you hear a track, you know it's them. It's kind of like a Kurt Ballou type of thing. You'll know when Kurt Ballou is doing something. Same with Arthur here. And I think it's great because Arthur does a great job of making sure everybody's instruments come through crystal clear, but it still feels muddy. It still feels sick. It feels gross. It feels vile. It's not right. But it's beautiful. Oh my gosh, right? And because of the black metal influence, there is a bit of reverb on the guitars, right? So you're going to hear a bit of reverb on Dave Grant's guitar solos, which are just screeching, by the way, especially on like Consecrated and Consumed, right? The guitar solos are very short. They're very terse, but they're very ear-piercing and searing, right? They leave an impression. And it's like one of those demons just gets off of the bandstand, drops their instruments, comes to your ear and goes like, ah! And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was just trying to hear the album. That's all I was trying to do. It's like that. And I really do love this about this album. Like, there are a lot of different influences that are just melted together so seamlessly. And speaking of the black metal influence again, where we're talking about the reverb on the guitars, like it feels so atmospheric and so cavernous, right? It feels like this band, this symphony, is playing in a dank cave with rock formations coming from the ceiling and rock formations coming from the floor. And if you look behind you, there's a pit that's going to lead you straight to hell. It's like that. And sound, it's just bouncing off the walls, right? And then when they do decide to kind of like give you a little bit of a rest, so to speak, right? Whether we're talking about the intro of, and here's where I have to actually make sure that I'm saying this album, this title track right? It's called Noctemnania. There it is. Whether we're talking about the intro to Noctemnania, which is a soundscape, so to speak, but it's very short. It's only maybe 3-4 seconds long, right? It doesn't feel like you're getting a rest from the maelstrom. It really doesn't. It really feels like they've stopped and now they're measuring you. It's like this, they stopped and they're like, okay, now how do we get them now? Like this. And then they punch you again and then blast beats happen and double bass happens. And it's nasty, right? It's absolutely nasty. And I love that about this album, so to speak, right? Where it's a situation where they find different ways to attack these songs, right? But also you'll notice what they kind of do, right? And I think the percussion really does break down a lot of the times, and it's on purpose. It's not like he's doing anything wrong, but it really does crumble, so to speak, as they transition between idea to idea within a track. And here's the thing. Now, I know I say idea to idea, right? Where it feels like It's multiple different things with no necessarily overarching idea when it comes to the track. Not true. And here's what's happening. I think each individual track is like a chapter to a book, right? And each chapter is trying to get to you a specific idea within the overarching narrative of the album. What is the overarching narrative of the album? There's a lot of Aztec imagery of death and things of that nature here. And there's a lot of anti-Christian ideology here as well. And I think these tracks, especially like I don't know if I want to call it like the title track, but we'll call it, and I'm going to say it once because I don't want YouTube to flag the video, but Sulfuric Sodomy, right? Disintegration of Christ, which title track. You're going to really get a sense of what's going on here because it really does play into the overarching idea of the album. Like I said before, the Aztec imagery of death, the anti-Christian ideology, right? Whether he's screaming at the sound of it, like he's screaming as loud as he possibly can, like lost and stuff like that. It's gross. But if we're talking about Sulfuric Estemy, right? This has to be my favorite track of the album. Why? Because it really does incorporate all of the different sounds that they're trying to get across to you perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. Why? Because there is hints of black metal here, like we said before, but the grindcore with the blast beats and the different way that they attack the blast beats is here, right? The mayhem of it is here, right? But the death metal aspect, we've yet to talk about that kind of in detail, right? Because I have hinted at Alfino Salcido's just marvelous death metal vocal, right? But what about instrumentally, right? This goes back to like the hammer beat because we have the tremolo picking going on here, the ascending and descending chord progressions, the weird off-balance aesthetic of the track, right? But then it starts to fall apart. And then it stops for like a split. I kid you not. It might hit a second. It will just stop. And then it goes into the stomping hammer beat that gives me whiplash every time it's mad. Mother chicken. It's nasty. Oh my gosh. Boo, do, 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 it's, let me tell you something. When we're listen to me. When we're talking about dope passages of a track throughout all of 2020, this has got to be the most mind-boiling, DNA slaughtering moments of 2020. It's stupid. But here's the thing. The dumber a track makes me feel, the more I like it. Yes. Yes, bravo. And then after that, yes, we have our stupid moment, but then it goes into like an ascending, almost ethereal black metal moment with a very, very catchy riff. And it's great. And this to me shows the flexibility of A Feather and Bone, right? This to me shows just how talented this threesome is. And to me, all at the same time, kind of underrated because yet and still, I think it's a situation where this is an album that's going to take multiple listens to kind of fully sink into. And not only is it going to take multiple listens, but you just can't, I don't know, grip a speaker like a Bluetooth speaker, put it in front of you, and then check it out, right? It needs to surround you. You need to feel immersed into it, right? Because it isn't an immersive experience, but just sonically, like you gotta grip your favorite pair of headphones, right? Or if you have like a surround sound or something else like that, do that because you are literally just thrown into a whirlwind. You are thrown into a maelstrom. You are thrown, quite simply put, into hell. And it's great. This is one of my favorite. If you have not picked this up, the name of this album again is Sulfuric Disintegration by A Feather and Bone. You can still go to their Bandcamp. You can pick up an album. You can pick up, well, the records have kind of sold out right now, but you can go to your local record store, and if they have it, please pick it up there. And you can pick up a shirt. You can pick up, just support the band the way that you can, right? Because this This deserves your money. This deserves your hard-earned cash, because this is bravo, gentlemen. Bravo. Just, this is the way to end 2020. This is a way to put a cap on our turbulent year, right? Great stuff. I am your man's Nic Rattlehead, and behind this camera is my man's with the master plan, 100 grand, only you, me, and God knows how much I love this guy, man. Tell him one more time, what's your name? Matt the Graff. Matt the Graff. Wash your hands, support your bands. Peace. Ooh, how you do that, Dale?
Yeah.